Hello everyone! Welcome to my second writing podcast, and I do apologize if you hear any jingling or chewing in the background. I have a new ESA dog. Her name is Astera, and she's in a chewing phase because she's still kind of a puppy. So if you hear any chewing, that's what she's doing. She's currently chewing on a towel. Not sure why, but she's more interested in the towel than she is in the rest of her toys. But anyways, it is October. Yes, actually it's almost the end of October by the time I'm recording this, but that doesn't matter because it's still October. And October is the month of spooks and spoops, so we're going to delve into the realm of creature creation. So creatures, beasts, monsters, and everything in between. They can either enchant you or give you nightmares. Creating creatures can be a daunting task because there is so much you can do with the material. From bulky to nimble to tiny to flight, there's options galore. Think of it like playing a game of Spore, which I know is a really old reference, but involves creature creation, so you get the idea. But what to choose? There's several different ways to go about it, and we're going to go over those options today. The first one is about creatures of Earth, past and present. The easiest way to start building creatures is to look at what we have and had on Earth. From dinosaurs to mammoths to sharks the size of a school bus, to deer to fox to lemurs. Earth has a rich diversity of inhabitants. Even if you don't use earthen creatures in your later draft, they're a good starting point to get down the main traits you would like to see. Let's take, for example, a hippo. It can be on land, but it prefers being in water and has massive jaws and an appetite for vegetation. From there, you can make changes and alterations to better fit your narrative. You can see examples of this in Dungeons & Dragons mythos with the GIF, or a race of space hippos. This guy's got a monocle. Classy. While the GIF are a more extreme example, let's go over lesser alterations. One creature is my own stories is called the Zilrock. The Zilrock started as a velociraptor, and I bent their anatomy based on other dinosaurs. Here's the description from the book. They came from Ura, a city filled with massive beasts, each eager to tear at each other. Zilrocks stood 7 to 9 feet tall, depending on the gender, and ran on their muscular back legs. Thick scaled hides and shades of brown, grays, and faded green were as tough as thick leather armor. Their long tails acted as whips and could crack bone with enough momentum. Even the smallest fully grown Zilrock carried a tail of at least 6 feet in length, greatly increasing their range. Some tails were upwards of 12 on the larger females. The Zilrocks also used their tails to cast magic to keep their jaws and talons free. The bones of their vertebrae jutted up through the skin down their spines. While their arms were thin and short like an elderly human, they were strong and deadly with 4 claws fingers waiting to tear into the flesh on the ends. Their eyes saw both heat and movement, making it difficult to avoid their detection in open areas. So that's my description of the Zilrock. Obviously it started as Velociraptor, but then I took different traits based on other dinosaurs. The longer tail is based on the Diplodocus, and the arms are based off the Spinosaurus. The protruding spines can be seen in various dinosaur variations, although they're much shorter on the Zilrocks. The size and mobility are based on wyvern monsters of the Monster Hunter series, such as the Great Jaggy and the Kululaku. They have pack dynamics based on killer whale pods, and the size dynamics are based on sexual dysmorphism, which you can see in reptiles, fish, and the spotted hyena. Mixing, matching, merging, and changing. All of that can make an ordinary creature into something extraordinary. The next topic is mythology, both established and homemade. When I say mythology, a lot of you people probably think of Greece, with satyrs, minotaurs, and cyclops, or Ireland, with banshees, leprechauns, and fairies. There are many different mythologies out there to pick from, and branching out can add a lot of flavor. You can also spice things up by making established mythos creatures have new traits unique to your novel. Take a look at The Deep by Rivers Solomon if you're looking for some inspiration. It has a very unique take on mermaids. When basing a creature off of a mythology, you have to decide whether to make it a dedicated to a single mythos, or if you have it to open for all mythos. The easier option is to stick to a single mythos, as you can delve deeper into what you're researching for your novel. Open mythos can be tricky, as you have to be able to spread the love evenly between your set mythos. Otherwise, it comes out lopsided, and the creatures from the not as popular mythos looks like they were an afterthought. Much like earthen creatures, mythological creatures are great as placeholders for creatures you would like to change in later drafts. The process from changing those of the established mythos to your own is the same as earthen creatures. You can use these traits from the same mythos or change it based on a variety of mythos. Making a homemade mythos can be a long process as you have to go over each creature, what the limitations are, what abilities they have, where they live, etc. It's not impossible though. If making a large mythos is too much, keep it simple with making just a few creatures, such as that of the Hunger Games Mockingjay. You can also combine it with some established creatures, such as they do in the Harry Potter series or the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe series. If you're looking for an example of a large-scale, fully unique mythos, take a look at H.P. Lovecraft's work on the Cthulhu mythos. So one way to make creatures is to base them off what kind of environment they live in. Researching Earth's animals who live in similar environments can get you a great start. From there, you can expand on attributes, size, and how their senses are based on their climate, location, local threats, and how they find food for their respective diets. For example, if a creature lives in the mountain, how do they ward off the cold? How are their senses wired to survive in the mountains? Are they nocturnal and use darkness to their advantage? How often do they need to eat in order to survive the colder climate? If they live higher on the mountains, how do they travel through snow or across ice? Does the terrain call for the creature to work together as a pack, as a duo, or a solitude being? Terrain doesn't always mean the wild either. Urban, suburban, rural, creatures can live there too. A good example of this is through the world of Pokemon. A good number of Pokemon live with partners in city locations, and some even live on their own in similar areas. A good example of this is from Pokemon Black and White. Castelia City is the largest city in the region, and it's based off of New York City. The Pokemon Pidove, which is a similar size and shape to a pigeon, lives amongst the city by picking up bits of food people drop, much like real pigeons. Another example of this is the old age myth that there's alligators in the sewers, or genetically mutated fish and frogs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, anyone? Another good example are seagulls, corvids, mice, rats, monkeys, stray cats, and dogs, or exotic pets that have escaped captivity and now live in the environment, like the pythons of the Florida's Everglades. The next topic is special abilities, powers, and magic. Once you get the base of your creature done, we then have to decide some of the more fantastical features. How does your creature communicate? Are they able to speak notable languages or languages shared amongst the various races of the world, such as the main language of your country, languages found on Earth, dead languages, or language you created yourself? Do these creatures have special abilities such as the power to use magic? Can they control the elements or a single element with deadly accuracy such as the Kushala or the Kirin from the Monster Hunter series? Are they only seen by certain people like the Threstal from Harry Potter or ghostly figures from various mythos? Do your creatures use their own version of magic different from the magic from the rest of the world, such as the trolls from Frozen? Do they have an advanced affinity towards nature, such as the Na'vi from Avatar? The possibilities are endless. The last bit of information is what we've touched on throughout this podcast, and that's getting inspiration from the media. Books, video games, TV shows, anime, movies, all of these are great ways to dive into finding and creating a unique creature. I mentioned before how Earth creatures and mythology creatures can be great placeholders, but creatures from media can be placeholders too. Some of the media I enjoy getting inspiration from is Dungeons & Dragons, Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy, and a wide assortment of books that I read. Everyone has a different media saturation in various facets, which is neat because then our individual experience with media can help us create vastly different creatures or creatures unique to the world we are creating. To conclude, making creatures is a skill that takes some practice. It's easy to come up with larger details, but the finer ones take refining. Our world is so vastly different, and each of us is so vastly different that there are millions of beasts waiting to be placed onto paper. But I hope you all enjoyed this podcast. Let me down in the comments, what are your inspirations for making creatures? Do you have any favorite creatures you created? Is there a topic you would like to see me cover? And if so, leave it down below, and I would love to create a podcast on it. I'm not sure what topic I'll be covering next, but I have plenty of material to work with. I also might be doing something for NaNoWriMo, which is coming up in November, which, for those unfamiliar with it, is National Novel Writing Month. And this is going to be the first time I'm actually going to do NaNoWriMo, so we'll see how it goes. But thank you all for listening. If you'd like to see more of my content, consider giving the subscribe button a tippy tap. You can also find me on Instagram, Goodreads, and Wattpad. Links down below in the description. I hope you all have a spooky Halloween this year. Have fun. Stay safe. Bye.